Oh hey, how's it going? I'm prepping the nav for leg 4. It's going to be another completely crazy race, and I know that because leg 3 was completely insane. What a challenge it was. I don't think I would have liked to have been in Alan's shoes, frankly, because when we left the dock in Cartagena, he turned around and looked at the rest of his crew, and there were 3 new faces looking back at him. And obviously, I've been around the world 4 times, and so I know how to sail a boat, but this one was new to me, and I've sailed with Alan a couple of times over the course of the years, but nothing major. And then Bex and Matisse saw the boat for the first time when it arrived in Cartagena. So complete novices when it comes to sailing this boat. I kind of feel like we smashed it. We did a great job. The scorecard doesn't really show that, but the route was really interesting. We sailed the boat quite well, and man, we saw lots of things along the way. When I say that we had a lot on during this race, I was not underestimating that. And that's because we saw something that Alan and I had never seen before, and that is 70 knots on this screen right here. We had 10 times that when we're out at sea. This crazy storm was not forecast in any of the models, just basically rolled up out of nowhere. We were expecting 35, maybe 40 knots, and so we were starting to reef down, and as the wind built, we went from 1 reef to 2 reefs, and then finally to 3 reefs. I changed from the J2 to the J3, and then just the wind kept on cranking it and cranking it and cranking it, and then we're like, oh my god, like when is this gonna stop? And it stopped at 70 knots. And the footage is amazing. It's completely insane that Alan went outside during this time, dressed up in his super speedos. I took the opportunity to have a shower, and that's because there was just so much spray driving through the boat that it was time for me to have a wash. And then the wind, obviously, thankfully, dropped off and went down to 35 knots. And that's what we finished with, is that we came ripping into the harbor here in front of Nice. The finish line was moored right in front of the breakwater, and so man, it was pretty spicy coming in here. And what's cool is that finally we get to get footage from the outside perspective of the boat to show what it is that this thing looks like when it's fully launched, bouncing over the waves, flying through the air. Finally, there were people on the outside to capture what that looks like, and so I think you'll really enjoy the images, because man, that's what our life looks like when this boat is fully wound up. So enjoy that one. Frankly, the biggest challenge during the course of the race was dealing with the intensity, because it is full on from go to woe. And that's something that Alan and I are sort of having to learn, because we're used to the Vendée Globe, days around the world, 35,000 miles or whatever it was, to non-stop. And yet here, we're learning almost more, because there are so many sail changes going on, and with 4 people on board, 4 sailors plus the OBR. Adriana is doing a fantastic job, so follow along for the rest of the stories coming on board the boat. It's just so varied and so intense, and it's kind of like getting a specialist in the marathon to learn how to pick up his feet and start sprinting. Yes, we're in the same boat that Alan sailed around the world. This race is completely different, and certainly the approach that we're taking is completely different. I think both he and I, old salty dogs, have so much to learn, and yet learning is the key component of what we're trying to do with this campaign. We have 2, Alan the skipper, me the co-skipper for these legs, and then we're bringing in new fresh blood and trying to train up young Swiss sailors and get them introduced to full-on ocean racing that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. And so it's an incredible project that Alan has embarked on, but that's also part of the challenge. Over and above the crew choice, we have an added challenge, and that is that this boat here was Alex Thompson's Hugo Boss for the 2020 edition of the race, and this is the boat that Alan sailed in the 2024 edition of the Vendée Globe, and it's the oldest one in the fleet, at least here. It was designed to be super optimized for the Vendée Globe, to sailing downwind as fast as possible, and yet here we have lots of upwind, lots of reaching, and clearly we're fighting against a disadvantage in pure boat speed. We can't beat anybody on pure boat speed, so that means that we have to be creative, we have to be open to opportunities that may lay in wait during the race course. And so don't be too surprised if you see us sort of skiving off and left or right looking for opportunities on the race course. I am very proud of the last leg, because we sailed really cleanly. We took good choices at the right time. I think that we placed the boat in the race course really well, particularly taking into account the fact that this is a new crew. And there's really a lot of promise for what's to come, and I'm excited for the next leg. So, excuse me, got some work to do. Need to figure out where we're going next.